When people wrong us, when they let us down, when they do things we don't expect, when they prevent us from doing what we want to do, we can be cross with them. And we have to search maybe sometimes for forgiveness. And that's what bodies do to us. They let us down, they break, they wear down, and unexpectedly they stop us doing the things that we want to do. And forgiving ourselves, forgiving our bodies for doing that to us, can be a route to that sort of quest narrative. And finally, in terms of mental illness, people become depressed or they become anxious. But they become depressed, then they feel angry that they're depressed, and they feel guilty that they feel angry that they feel depressed, and they feel upset that they're angry that they're depressed, and they feel depressed that they're angry that they're guilty. And the layer and the miasma of emotion saps every last bit of stuff they had from you. And I talk to people about forgiving yourself for that base emotion. Yes, you're depressed, but you need to focus and forgive yourself for that in order to escape from the secondary, tertiary, quaternary emotions that are actually sapping your ability to recover from that depression.
I've been working with Restore, with the Forgiveness Project, for however many years, a long time. And I realised I've actually been into 16 different prisons. And through sharing something of the story, I've been amazed that words have returned. So it feels like putting my voice out there, harvesting more words. And one of the people in prison who wrote a poem to me, and he said, I've never written a poem in my life before I met you, and the only way I can let go of the pain and express myself, speak from the heart, is poetry. I never knew Lucy used to write poems. I would like to dedicate all my poems to Lucy, because in a strange way, if it wasn't for what happened to her, we would never have met, and I would still be in that dark, lonely place.
I raise my eyes up to the sky, to look way beyond this mountain high. I look to the heavens to just ask why this world won't get off my back and let me fly. I'm stuck at the bottom with my regrets, with the single feather that I now possess. One day I'll reach that mountaintop, but I'll have to do it step by step. Thank you. I'm using my words to entertain, and yet I need to be able to use those same words to try and reach out to people that might find themselves, you know, what they call it, falling between the cracks, you know, in the concrete. And working in prisons, it was like a real wake-up call. It was like, it was hardcore, and I realized that, like, you've got to have what I call a fundamental belief in rehabilitation. You know, you can't just like say, okay, I'm going to be inspiring to you and to you and to you, but you know, I don't really like the way your fingernails are looking, so I'm going to leave you aside. You know what I mean? And you can't employ that kind of prejudice in terms of forgiveness and being inspirational.
Well, I was thinking, when I put my hand up, it was what happens when you can't find the right words, and I was thinking, well, what are the right words? And so I thought, aha. How do you find the right words? How do you know when you've found the right words?
I think the word forgiveness, for me, was a barnacled word. It didn't mean anything. But eventually, when I had an experience of what it might mean, when, like you, I did have a real connection with Rosemary West in my heart when I was on one of these retreats, and I was feeling as if this pain wasn't going to go away, and you know, how was I going to go on with this? And the Zen master said to me in the interview, just know that your suffering is relieving the suffering of others. Then the word forgiving began to mean something to me, because I saw it not as a noun that you tick off and you complete, but it's like an ongoing verb, and it became forgiving. So I'm not feeling this pain because of somebody. I'm actually allowing it to be, and it's for somebody, that they might be free of whatever it was that caused them to harm in the first place.
there are some of the people that I've worked with who have ended up coming back inside because of their mental health issues, whether it's personality disorder or different things. That's part of a reason that they would end up straight away going back in and burgling people, but have no sense of empathy for people. So my question really is, I guess to you guys, is about, is empathy something that we can work with people who we know that they come from damaged backgrounds or things that can be worked towards?
We do this with doctors all the time, to teach empathy, to help people to connect with the people that they see who are suffering. And some people have got it naturally, and some people just have not got it. So there's lots of things that we do in the medical education sphere to help teach empathy to people through the arts and through other things. We do things called cognitive empathy, which is saying, well, what is empathy? It's a statement that connects I and you. Let's practice. I feel sorry that you. I wonder if you, you know, I and you connected in the same sentence. But there are some people who do not have the mental capacity to be able to experience empathy. They can understand it, they can have cognitive empathy, but they will not ever have emotional empathy. And these are people that you're talking about potentially sometimes, but you know, we see them in all walks of life. The best that we can do in that sense is to teach cognitive empathy and have a sense of why pretending that you're being empathic is important for you.
I did a project with a bunch of teenagers who were all refugees, and they were child soldiers, child prostitutes. You know, they've been plucked from their countries, and they're like over here now, and they've done some been through some horrific experiences. And especially with the child soldiers, I was just thinking to myself, how come you're so young and you can do that? And then I realized it's because they haven't got that wide range of emotions to share the feelings. They didn't. It was just a video game to them. You know what I mean? And the kickback of the guilt is only going to occur years later. And so, again, as Tim said, some people have got it naturally, and some people will never get it. But it's something that you have to try and nurture it. To say, okay, you've been through this experience. Someone else has been through similar experiences. That's where you connect. And so, do I believe that everyone can be rehabilitated? No. I think, some people, they're going to just keep going in and out, and doing whatever it is they're going to do. But do I believe that everyone should be offered a chance for rehabilitation? Then yes. And those of us that do work in these institutions, and those of us that do put ourselves on the so-called front line, we really have to rise above our petty prejudices, which we all have. You know what I mean? There's no way you can sit in front of someone that's murdered people or committed sexual crimes or whatever and not cringe, do you know what I mean? But you've got to rise above it and think, okay, somewhere within that individual is some potential which I've got to pull out to get them away from the other part of them.